What's the most ridiculous parting story Pat has heard from a teammate from another NFL player?
Oh, partying story?
Yeah.
I thought it was parting.
Oh.
Well, Vontae Davis retired at halftime. That's probably the best parting story I've ever heard in my entire. Hey, dog, it's just a young man's game, bro. I ain't got it no more. I'm out, dog. Vontae Davis, I can't wait till his first appearance on this show. Legendary retirement, electric individual, great football player too. People forget. Very good football player, made a lot of money. Now he has a health and wellness business down in Florida. I wish him all the best. You get it. Best partying story. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I couldn't tell you.
I got a good backup question if you don't want that one.
I grew up in the era of everybody partying. So, I mean, now granted, I think the players before us who had a little bit more less invested in football, the guys that were smoking cigarettes on the sideline at halftime, drinking beers and stuff. Yeah, those guys, their party stories, I assume, are much better than anything But I grew up before grew up. My first couple years in the league and in my college years were all before everybody had a camera on their phone. So guys were a lot looser. I mean, I've been a part of some insane situations, obviously, and I always acted like I was the agent for all the important friends that I had. And the stories I heard from thoughts and groupies to try to get to my teammates were just next level. And the amount of money I've seen thrown to make people dance is next level. I mean, I was very, very lucky. And I think there's a lot. That's a massive part, by the way, of building up your team back in the day. It used to be a massive part of building up your team. I told the story on Rich Eisen's show about my team camaraderie building barbecue I had at my house at West Virginia because I was banned from having parties. Like Rich Rod actually gave me a ban from having parties. So I had a team chemistry camaraderie building barbecue at my house, which, by the way, not a party.
No.
This is a chemistry camaraderie building barbecue that the cops just so happened to block off a block for.
Gotta be safe.
That we had a DJ and everything for, and there's people doing you. That was back when Soldier Boy I finish home. We had about 100 people in the front yard doing it. It was a great barbecue that ran till about 2-3 in the morning. Now, sometimes when the meat's getting cooked, sometimes some things take a little bit longer to cook than the other stuff. That's why it was so late. But those moments of going out, having a beer or 50 with people, that type of stuff is massive for the team to come together. And it might sound bad, and it might not be what the sports scientists and the nutritionists think is good for the body and the player and peak performance and shit like that. But I think a team comes together a lot more around a keg than they do kale. And I just think that is something that's kind of missing potentially from the 2020 athletics. Because once you have guys that go out and have a good time, because whenever you're loose, by the way, you're telling about yourself a little bit more. You're learning about people a little bit more. The next morning, those moments you have with your friends when everybody's like recapping what happened the night before, now that's happening with the team. I mean, it's just an instant locker room builder. And every great player I've been around has been a player that wants to say, hey, let's go have dinner. Let's go have some drinks. And then some of them just so happen to be, hey, let's go tear a fucking club down for the next 5 hours. You got it, boss. Here we go. Oh, you're going to be the only white dude within about 10-mile radius, by the way. All right, let's do it. Let's have a good time. I had a great time with Pac-Man Jones one night down in Atlanta. Ooh. Great time. And I was never even on team with the guy. So, I mean, that is something you can think about.
We need Pac-Man back.
Pac-Man's the best. He's the fucking best. He obviously ran into some early legal issues and made some poor decisions. But you're talking about a guy who was pulled out of a very terrible thing, given a lot of money. He would have handled it differently, I believe. But at this point, mature, incredible football player, played for a long time, and he's a great guy to be friends with. I think he came out and did our live show in Cincinnati. We were going to have Chris Collinsworth be our guest. He didn't answer us. Pac-Man was like, yeah, I'll come. So I told the crowd, I was like, we were going to have Chris Collinsworth, whole place fucking booze. And I said, but instead, we got Pac-Man Jones. And the place just went ape shit. And he came out and gave us an hour-long interview. He's a man. We do need to have him.
Shout out End Zone Pizza.
Shout out End Zone Pizza.
Shout out Enzo Pizza.
Right across the river from Cincinnati. Go get your pizza now.